Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. As you can tell from the title up there, I'm continuing my trek through the episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond. Now we're on episode 10 of season 7. This is Marie's Vision, an episode that deals a little bit with the difficulties of getting older, and in this case, it's your eyesight changing, you're having to accept you have to get glasses. But with that, if you have a certain type of personality, comes the whole thing of noticing stuff and, of course, having to vocalize it. Of course, it's Marie. This episode was written by Jay Kogan, who seems to be one of those writers they bring in just to do stuff, which this is a type of plot that definitely feels like it'd be one of those ones, even though he doesn't get the character dynamics pretty right. And the humor is spot on, but that's also because it seems like he is a lifelong sitcom writer, as he also wrote episodes of George Lopez, Frasier, and Malcolm in the Middle. Before I get too far into review, just a reminder, if you want to support the channel, both the Patreon and PayPal links are down below. If you want to continuously support the channel, gain access to videos early, and be able to suggest topics for future videos, such as reviews of Falling Down, or random topics like favorite horror films, or whatever happened to blue-collar workers in cinema. If you want to just do a one-off request or one-off support, go the PayPal route. Either way, your support is appreciated. Now, like I mentioned at the top and in the last video, this is one I first saw in syndication, and it was one that I did enjoy. Now, some of the more finer continuity aspects of the show still eluded me since I've been seeing the episodes out of order, and I think they might have actually cut out a little bit at the beginning to make it seem more like a standalone episode, kind of like how the old school TV episodes are done. But there was enough to where you can kind of follow where it's going, and you could tell it's definitely after Robert and Amy got back together again, which is where the episode begins, where the Barones are coming back from a night at dinner, where Robert has announced that he's back together with Amy and everyone's happy. Now, Marie, she goes off to do something, and they all start talking about how they noticed that there's something wrong with Marie's vision. You know, she can't read something. She couldn't read the specials at dinner. She accidentally walked into the men's room, which that's a big one, because not only do you have a sign, but you got the different shape thing, so it's like, wow. I mean, as you can probably tell, I have glasses, but I can at least read some stuff without my glasses, like I'm looking at my posters, I can tell that it says Frankenstein, that says The Hobbit, that says Amon Amarth. I can tell those things behind me say Pops. I mean, even though it's upside down. Even accounting for it being upside down, this paper I got next to the computer, I can kind of read it. But if I were to put it, well, even with my glasses, I wouldn't be able to read it if I put it on the wall right there. But just saying. That tells you that her vision has to be bad if she confuses the restrooms. Unless they just threw that as a one-off gag to where she walked in and just didn't care that she walked into the men's room. Now, the delicate thing here is you got to bring it up to Marie in a way to where she doesn't feel offended, which of course you could tell that the Barone boys are going to be like, good luck with that. And as Frank puts it, well, you might want to get your affairs in order first. Old Debra gently brings it up to her. And what sells it is the fact she's like, when was the last time you went to an optometrist? And Doris Roberts sells this beautifully where she's like, did I just hear right? And Debra goes a little bit more into it, and Marie just tries to hush the issue, like, my eyes are fine. And one of my favorite little arguments for why Marie doesn't think she looks good in glasses is like, I have a Botticelli face, and one does not put glasses on a Botticelli face. Now, by that, does that mean she has a face that looks like it should be in a piece of artwork by Botticelli? If so, of course you don't put glasses on that. I'd have to look at the years, but he might not have worked them well with people that had glasses. But even then, it's like, eyesight before your vanity. And you could find glasses that fit your face well. They come in all different sizes and styles. I mean, some of them go out in subsequent decades. I mean, there's a reason why when people look at pictures from the 80s, in addition to the hairstyles, the only thing they lambast is those big old glasses, which keep that in mind. That's going to come up in a little bit. And she's still going, and of course, Frank, being Frank, kind of pokes fun a little bit where he's pulling to Jurassic Park like, don't keep absolutely still. Marie's vision is based on movement. And then she's like, Frank? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you couldn't see me. Something Frank would definitely do. But eventually Marie is convinced that she needs to go to the optometrist. And what is it that convinces her? Well, as they're eating dessert, after Marie feels she shut the conversation down, Debra goes to eat, and her is like, oh, this fork is dirty. And Marie, of course, is like, there are no dirty forks in my house. She looks at it and goes, I clean this fork myself by hand. And that finally convinces her to go to the optometrist. And she definitely needs glasses. Now, for originally it's for like driving and other stuff like that, which that's the main reason I need glasses. But based on what I said, her vision must be really bad when it comes to that. But Marie decides to keep them on all the time. Now she gets big old ones, like owl type glasses. And of course Ray does throw a little line out like, is that the style the kids are wearing now? And of course Marie's just reveling in it. They said I look so sophisticated with them. And now we get the crux problem of the episode, other than trying to convince Marie to wear the glasses. And that is, as she's talking with people, she starts noticing stuff. Some of it is not too bad. Like what Ray, she mentions that he's getting a touch of gray along the side, and saying it's very distinguished. Which, Ray's in his 40s at this point, so it would make sense for people to start get gray hair. I mean, from what I'm noticing, I'm not yet. But my hair, I notice in places, is lightening a little bit. But that's because I think it's going from a dark brown to where some people have confused the fact that I had dark brown hair with black hair when I was really young, outside of certain lighting. And you're starting to tell, yeah, it's brown hair. Another 80-ish years probably will start getting grays, because I know my father had gray when he was 40. But it's one of those things, like, nothing wrong with gray, and like you said, it looks distinguished. But Ray, of course, being that he's had a couple past incidents with midlife crises about the height and all that, you could already tell that's going to be like, huh. And of course, Debra's, it's that Marie's like, I just didn't notice your eyelashes weren't as full. And since this is the Thanksgiving episode, and it cuts to Thanksgiving, when Robert and Amy show up, what they noticed. With Amy, she hasn't said anything to her yet. Amy's fearing it's going to be her neck thing. Whereas Robert, it's that she said she saw all the wrinkles in his face. Now this goes into how everyone's going to react. And that is, they try to deal with the issue by trying to cover it up. With Ray, it's very literal, because he gets shoe polish and puts it over there. And just the way this looks on him, it definitely is an Elvis-like look, which they actually call out in dialogue. Oh, nothing, Elvis. And of course, Debra puts a lot of eyeliner and stuff on her to give herself fuller-looking eyelashes. And I just love how Ray calls her out on it. Excuse me. Where she's like, it's a special day. I decided to do it. So what? You're the Thanksgiving Day hooker? I got a big laugh out of you this time, even though I knew the line was coming. And Robert with the most extreme route, whereas those two, you can just wipe it off at the end of the day. He found a doctor in the Yellow Pages and got anti-wrinkle injections done in his face, which of course now it's half paralyzed due to it while he's recovering. So Brad Garrett has to talk in a way to where you could tell that his face is paralyzed and he can't fully enunciate his lines, which of course, from an acting standpoint, seems like it'd be a little difficult, because you got to get it just right to where it's convincing, both for the visual thing and then for your auditory thing. But it also allows you to play a little bit with the dialogue and probably say some stuff that you wouldn't be able to say without that. Like, hey, Daddy, can't wait for the turkey. So like that a little bit. So you also got to do it to where certain sounds that you would need all that range of motion are modified. It'd be like, trying to talk if you don't have lisps, or you can't do plosive sounds. If you want to know what a plosive sound is, just say the word plosive and try to imagine that first sound, like ba, pa, da. Those ones where you say it feels like a big sound comes forward. Pa, pla, pla. Now, Marie and Frank do come over, and Marie easily notices everybody's tried that, except for Robert. She thinks he's doing it intentionally, which definitely something Marie would do. And Ray outs Robert, and this is what I mean by the stuff that you couldn't normally see, because he says he's tissed, which he's trying to say pissed, but that's how he says it because of the injections. And Marie is all like, those lines are good, why are you doing all this? And then when they explain it's because you saw this, because you saw that, Marie, of course, is like, I can't believe just because I saw a few little observations, everyone did this just to please me. And of course, Frank's being his usual stuff. And maybe it's easier to do that than to listen to you whine. Which, of course, goes into a little argument between them. And this, I have to mention this is the first time I heard the phrase that Marie is going to use. Where she's all lecturing Frank about it, where he thinks it's going to be like, oh, yeah, fat and bald. Nope. With him, it's more his inside stuff. Lack of communication, lack of respect. And she even says loveless marriage. Is like, maybe I won't stay around now. I see I'm in a loveless marriage. Which, that, to use a modern phrase, really triggers Frank to the point where he's looking at her like, loveless marriage? Loveless marriage! Grabs her glasses and breaks them and storms back across the street. They go back. She goes over there and starts talking to him. Leading up there while he's eating bread. And mentioning, like, I've never seen you react that way. Which, of course, you realize some people might be going red flag. But it's also one of those things where she could see, like, maybe that wasn't true. Because she says that he does love her. Which I know someone's going to go, well, if he loved her, he wouldn't have broke the glasses. Which is true. But the reason they do delve a little bit into the psychology of it, part of it is that he sees that her having the glasses and always wearing them is a little bit of the issue here. But it's also the fact that she's like, really? I don't love you? Which we've seen time and time again, that they love each other in their own weird, old school way. And part of it is tempered by the fact that this is a sitcom and certain stuff that happens here would probably not happen in real life to the level that it's at. Well, they do make up. And we get a little gag about cooking, about Debra's cooking, even Frank being tentative, which at that point I'm like, really? How many Thanksgiving dinners has she cooked to the point where you're going to act like that? Sitcom writing. But it is what it is there. And of course the epilogue. Typical epilogue for what you expect between Ray and Debra. And it's a nice little way to end the episode. And all in all, it's another fun little episode for season 7. I could definitely see it being in the runner for my favorite of the season. And it'll definitely be on the VHS list when I make it later. And of course, we're going to move on to the next episode, which I don't have the name in my notes, so sorry, it's not going to be the typical ending where I name the episode, but it should be a good one next time, because I don't think there's any other ones in this season that come close to being rants that I haven't already covered. I mean, there's be ones that'll have ranting moments, but that's going to go without saying once we meet Amy's parents, and I think like 7-ish episodes time, something like that. Because the last string episodes are about the preparing for the wedding and then other one-off stuff. I'm looking up at the Emmy Award stuff, see if there's anything to mention there. Not quite yet. Oh yeah, this is one thing. I forgot to mention in the last episode that she's the one got an Emmy nod for multi-camera picture editing. So there was that, and from that moment with the frogs, definitely deserved. Other than that, nothing else to mention just yet, so until next time, guys.